Hey everyone, King CreepyPasta here. If you're watching this, then you've probably already watched my reading I did of the CreepyPasta 9/17/10. If you haven't, you can go ahead and watch that if you want. But if you don't want to, yeah, that's fine too. You don't have to. In this video, I'm just basically going to be giving my thoughts on it and doing an analysis. I'm not going to be debunking it or anything like that. I'm not sure if debunkings are what I'm going to be doing on this channel yet or not. But also, it's a creepypasta, and we pretty much don't have to debunk it. We know it's not true. So yeah, I'm just going to be giving my thoughts, I guess. So this wasn't the first time that I had read this creepypasta. I have read it a couple times before now, but I did enjoy it for the most part. I found it realistic. Obviously, like I said, the story itself isn't real, but something like this could absolutely be possible. There wasn't anything supernatural or paranormal about it, which can make it less believable at all. I actually had a friend once who had a cell phone that they bought that was used, but was supposed to be wiped clean, just like how the laptop was in the story. But when they let their kid play on the phone, the kid found pictures or videos or something. I don't actually remember exactly what it was, but they found stuff on it, on the phone, of people doing like a shit ton of drugs and just a bunch of other illegal shit. I also myself had an experience like that. I was a lot younger. I think I was around 11 or 12. I got an iPod from this older guy that I knew, and I got it taken away for some reason, and I can't remember. But apparently, when my parents went through it, there were like pictures on the iPad of his dick and other naked people on it. And of course, neither of those situations were as dark as the story. But something like this, someone finding stuff like that on their laptop that's not supposed to be there, is probably possible and could happen. So it was very believable, I found, the story. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but if I was looking for a laptop and I did find one for as cheap as the person in the story did, I would be a lot more skeptical at first than he was. And absolutely, like, definitely check the credibility of not only the laptop, but whoever was selling it. I know the author, or the narrator, whoever, mentions later on in the story that, yes, he should have checked the credibility of the seller first, but I feel like even if you were desperate, that you would check. I know last fall I had started my first year of college and was very desperate for a laptop, and ended up getting up a Dell laptop myself that was on sale and was a lot cheaper than usual. But despite how desperate I was, I still made sure that shit was good before I got it. Of course, my fear wasn't finding like videos of someone getting murdered. I just wanted to make sure it was working properly, and I know that the author did check that, but I'm very skeptical about that kind of stuff, whether it's online or whether it's on the newspaper. And that's not even like, that doesn't even change how I feel about the story. That's just a little nitpicky thing about myself, more than anything. One thing that I did really like was that the author doesn't describe the man that's selling the laptop when the guy goes to meet him as, real spooky looking. For the most part, he's described as a normal guy, thin flannel jacket. He doesn't describe him as, oh, I had this horrible feeling about him the moment I saw him because he looked homeless and dirty, and, he's a normal dude. However, with the guy having to drive outside of town, the old truck, the yard, and the man apparently being relieved to sell the laptop, that right there, in a way, is kind of predictable that there's going to be something wrong with the laptop. I know the first time I read it, I figured that was what was going to happen, but I didn't know what was going to be on there. I was like, oh, is the laptop going to be haunted? You don't know, but you just know that something is going to be up. So that's not really a bad thing, because it's predictable, but not in a predictable way. If that makes sense, it works. I liked that. I think we can all agree, as a whole, that if we were to find, a folder on a laptop that we got from a stranger with those videos, mostly just for the fact that the hard drive was supposed to be clean, we all might be a little reluctant to look at them at first. Oh, one quick thing. We can probably assume, or at least I can assume, that this folder was probably the main reason that the seller wanted to get rid of it, assuming that the seller had something to do, with the videos because, his truck was featured there. So we can assume that, whether he might not have had something to do with the videos, but he probably knows about the videos. So we can probably assume that that's why the guy wanted to get rid of it. But if he's trying to hide it or if he's trying to cover it up, wouldn't he double or even triple check that the folder is long gone? There's no trace of it. That could be nitpicking. But on the other hand, maybe he wants somebody to find the folder. Like I said, maybe he knows, maybe he knew the woman, maybe he knew the ex-husband, maybe he even knew the girl. Maybe the girl's like his daughter or sister or something like that. But he's too afraid to do anything himself because he's involved in it. So maybe, but if that's the case, then why try to hide the folder? Because the author or the narrator, the guy in the story, he says how he found it hidden away. That's just a few questions. It'd be interesting to find out the author's answers to them. Yeah, I found like it leaves you questioning, and I like that when a story does that. Like it doesn't leave too many unanswered questions. It just kind of leaves you wanting more, I guess, and I like that. I also like the way that the content in the video is described. It's not over the top. It's not overly descriptive, and using cliche language like hyper realistic or anything really cliche and unoriginal like that. It's really nice, and I was originally, a little, I don't know if confused would be the word to use, but when the author or the guy telling the story would say, oh, 6 minutes went by, 9 minutes went by, I'd be like, how do you remember that? But, rereading the story, the times actually really make sense, with the car driving, them waiting. The times make sense. Like, it doesn't feel rushed. Like, taking 9 minutes or 6 minutes to go where they needed to be is realistic. And it's like it's going in real time. So I like that. The guy telling the story, it seemed like he remembered just the right amount, just the way it was described, like exactly how much someone would actually remember if they witnessed these videos and were telling this story to somebody else. The important parts are included, everything else doesn't matter. One thing that kind of bothered me, and I know it's just me, was I didn't like, so to say, or I didn't understand why the guy didn't call the police the moment he began to get worried and the video started to get weirder. Like the whole situation leading up, if I was in that situation, I don't even know if I would finish watching. Like, I get being curious and all that, but I'd be pretty damn scared in that situation. I think as soon as I saw the same truck in the video, would be the pushing point for me to call the cops. And just have them go through the rest of them if they needed to. But then again, I know, like I said, that's just me. But I mean, even at the same time, he could have been, watching the videos, looking at the pictures, if he was really that curious and, calling the cops at the same time, staying on the line with them. I don't know, maybe. I like how the murder of the young girl, doesn't actually happen in the videos. It's sort of mentioned how she's killed. We know she gets beat up. We know she gets tied up. We know she gets her entrails removed from her. But that's about it. It's not overly descriptive. Like, we don't know how she's beaten. We don't know, was she cut open? Was she sawed open? We can probably assume she was because of the power tools. But that kind of leaves it open to the imagination, I feel. And if you have a vivid imagination, I guess that could be a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how descriptive your imagination is. I thought the ending was, for the most part, very realistic. There was no, unexpected twist that didn't really work. Everything seemed to come together and fit at the end. And it kind of makes you want to know more about the people involved. Like, who was the girl that was murdered? What drove the woman to do what she did? Why did her relationship with her ex-husband end? I kind of like how it leaves you wanting to know more. I didn't really find it all that scary, which is okay. I don't really find many creepypastas all that scary. But it certainly was interesting, and it would be one that I would recommend, if someone were to ask me for creepypasta recommendations. All in all, I was originally, when I thought about my analysis, going to give it 7 out of 10. And I was going to say, it was decent, enjoyable, believable. But I found, that even while recording this, I didn't really have as many cons as I thought I did. So I think I'm going to bump that 7 up to an 8 and rate it 8 out of a 10. And yeah, you can check it out on the Creepypasta Wiki. It is featured on the Past of the Month page. And it, like I said in the description of my last video, and I will put in this description, it was written by Bongwatersnowman. So go check him out too, or her out. Not sure. All right, bye guys.